Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCO's August webinar on our curriculum and academic program. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tara Pinnell. I am the Student Services and Admissions Officer here at SCO. I'm one of the team members who answers your admissions questions and participates in the admissions process. Before we get started, I would just like to ask that we all use proper Zoom etiquette by keeping microphones muted and less speaking, limiting background noise, and respecting all of this webinar's attendees and facilitators. We will have time for questions toward the end of the webinar, but in the meantime, if you have any questions or concerns that need immediate attention, please use your chat feature to communicate with us. I will be paying attention to it. Today we'll go over a presentation covering the curriculum and academic program here at SCO, and we'll hear from our Chair of Optometric Education, Dr. Lindsay Elkins. This webinar is being recorded and will be free and available to view starting next week on our website. All right, Dr. Elkins, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tara. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. I know I have my video on, but I may take a little bit of a break to take some coffee sips. If you do have questions, there will be time at the end, but you can put them in the chat as well. If you want to start off, we can just put in the chat where you're viewing from or where your undergrad is, or if it's even high school. Tara, I'm not even sure if this was specifically open to high school or undergrad, but that'd be great this morning. As Tara mentioned, I'm Dr. Lindsay Elkins, and I'm originally from North Carolina. I came to Memphis because of SCO. I'm a graduate from 2007. I did my residency at the Memphis VA Hospital in primary care and ocular disease, and then I came right back. So I've been a faculty member at SCO since 2008. And my current role is the Chair of Optometric Education. I've done that for 10 years. So I'm very familiar with the curriculum at SCO. One of the things that's unique about SCO as well is that our faculty are all optometrists. So teaching your courses, all of the lectures, the labs, it's all taught by optometrists. And we also see patients in the clinic. So a lot of diversity there. Today is also one of my clinic days. So I'll be heading to our adult primary care suite after this call. So we'll go ahead and get started a little bit to give you a background on our actual curriculum. That's me. You're welcome to email me at any time if you have questions that you think of after this presentation. But everything we do is really guided by our mission. So our mission at Southern College of Optometry is to lead the profession by educating the best possible healthcare providers, promoting lifelong learning, and fostering a personal commitment to service. So all of your classes and your labs and the clinic all support this mission. So everything that's part of the curriculum, the basic foundations, but leading up to clinical care, the best possible healthcare providers will have that foundation. But even 4 years, it seems like a very long time, especially 4 years after you've probably done 4 years of undergrad, but really there's always going to be more to learn. So it's important that you have the foundations that you can continue to build on even after you graduate, and fostering a personal commitment to service. So part of the things that we'll talk about as we get into this is we do have there's a ton of service opportunities that are optional, but we also have service built into our curriculum because it's that important to us that optometry and what we do is a vital service to our community, no matter where you're coming from. So our curriculum includes more than 192 semester credit hours of coursework over the 4 years. So when you think about undergrad, that 4 years, it's usually around 120 credit hours. So this is the same 4-year span of time, but it's just a lot more coursework. That's not all classes. It's the didactic is the classroom, but also labs and clinic, and then service activities. So there's a lot packed into that amount of time, but you also have time to have fun, and you're going to make some of the best friends for the rest of your life. So it's a good time. You work hard, but it's great. So some things that are unique about us, we are located in Tennessee, and so we're fortunate to be in a state that has a very broad scope of practice. I would encourage you all, if you're still considering optometry, that's great, research optometry, but also think about the state that you're from or where you may want to end up, and look at the optometry board website for your state. The scope of practice is going to be unique to whatever state you're in. By and large, there's a lot of overlap, but as far as how things have expanded, in Tennessee, we've been able to remove lumps and bumps from the eyelid and do eyelid injections. We've been able to do those kinds of things since the 90s. Some states are just getting those privileges. Some states don't have those privileges, and that's okay. You may not want to do that. But as an institution, we have to make sure we're preparing our graduates to go to any state that you may want to. So we're in Tennessee. You definitely will do injections on each other. There are also some fake arms and things along that line as well, but you do injection skills. Something that's pretty new for us is there's some legislation that just got passed that we will be able to add laser procedures, including SLT, which is selective laser trabeculoplasty, YAG, laser, which cleans up the cataract films on the implant after cataract surgery, and laser peripheral iridotomy in the iris. So there's 3 laser procedures that we've just gotten approved to provide that will go into the Tennessee scope of our law in 2028. So that means optometrists will be able to perform those procedures. Those skills were actually already in our curriculum, and we have an ophthalmologist currently that comes to our clinic 1 day a week, and our students get to practice these skills on model eyes. And then when in their 4th year, after they've passed a lot of practicals on these skills under the ophthalmologist, they're able to perform those skills in our patient care atmosphere on real patients. So this will, once that goes into law, it'll expand the opportunities, because then our optometrists that are trained in these skills already will be able to provide that, and we'll be able to expand those clinic opportunities. But these are things we already had in our curriculum as well. So we are very fortunate that Tennessee has a very expanded scope of practice. But again, that's a great opportunity for you to look at your state and the laws to be kind of familiar with what you can do or what you may be interested in doing. Our clinical education is outstanding. So we are in the heart of Memphis. We have a giant clinic that's right beside our 11-story tower. You're going to see some pictures here in a moment. And if you have an opportunity, it'd be great for you to visit, because of course we can describe it to you. You can look at pictures, you can do virtual tours, but coming on campus, there's nothing like it. But we do have very broad clinical experiences. And it's not just our eye center. Our eye center is our main building, but there's Focal Point, youth villages, and each of these areas have a unique emphasis. So Focal Point, it's at Crosstown Concourse, only a couple of blocks away, but it's designed more of like a boutique private practice feel. There's an art gallery inside, but we also share that space with Church Health Center. Church Health Center is one of our community resource partners that help to provide not just optometric services, but medical services in general to the underinsured or the working poor. So it's a sliding scale. And so we work with them very closely. Again, community service is very near and dear to our hearts. The Methodist Rehabilitation Partnership. So we do work with local doctors in a hospital setting if someone's had a stroke recently or a concussion, things along that line, and they want a visual assessment while the person is still an inpatient. So in that rehabilitative hospital setting, we do have doctors that go with students to provide those initial assessments. And a lot of times that may be all they need if it's just that bedside consult, or we get them prepared for when they get released from the hospital and they can come to our vision therapy clinic for additional services. Nursing home and assisted living rotation during your 3rd year. That's part of your adult primary care rotation, where we go to a lot of different locations around Shelby County. That's the county we're in, to provide bedside services, or they may have an exam room set up in a room, so we can provide our services throughout. And again, our optometric surgical procedures and laser lab, that's in our didactic curriculum, but there's also an entire clinical service where you can do pre and post cataract appointments for people, do the lumps and bumps clinics, and then our laser procedures, as we mentioned. So we have a huge emphasis on our clinical education. So I mentioned the pictures that you'd see of our building. So this is our main building, the 11-story tower. And adjoining it is our atrium and our classroom complex. So the main 2 classrooms, so this is a classroom picture on the inside. We can remove the wall that goes down the center. There's a wall that separates us into 2 classrooms when we have exam weeks, which is actually going to be the start of our final exam week this week. We usually open the walls so people can really spread out, and you take your exams right there on your computer. A lot of our exam rooms look very similar to this area. They've got the full setup. in our theory and methods lab, that's what we have our demonstration camera here. We've got a faculty member at the front that's demonstrating how to do a slit lamp exam. And then the bays that are behind it are very similar to a full scope bay like this. The bottom left here, so that's one of our ophthalmology partners that's performing a laser procedure in our observatory where some of our students are getting to observe there as well. And they can do other procedures that get observed and recorded as well. Okay, so we kind of already mentioned this about how SCO might be different than your undergrad experience. Well, there's just a lot of content. It's very difficult to just really try to get through something and cram and then dump it like you're never going to see it again, because it all builds on each other. So that tight integration, your very first semester, your first year, it's very basic science, but it all builds on each other. And in your third year, you'll start taking your national board exam. So in your spring of your third year, you have a basic science exam, and it's pretty much over everything over those last 3 years. So all that content, you really have to learn it for the long term, and it all builds on each other. So that tight integration, everything we do is focused on our mission to support that. So not just that you get through and you're able to pass boards, but being the best doctor, being able to serve, being able to learn for your lifetime. All of those are very important. And again, our ultimate goal, again, best possible healthcare providers and our mission. And really the amount of material is the hardest thing for people to adjust to when they first get here, because you're going to be very good at taking tests. You've been doing that for a very long time. So tests, there's still going to be plenty of those, but the labs, you have to do practicals and skills, and people are watching you perform these skills. So that's different. In your labs, you're partnered with your classmates. And even though we have a larger class, our class is about 140 usually, but our labs are much smaller. They're usually broken up into groups of 30, and the faculty members assign you partners. And so you're practicing these skills on each other for the most part. And so you really do get to know everybody, and those lab groups rotate every semester. Tara can tell you more about that because Student Services makes those lab groups, but it's the way we are able to be very close-knit. Everybody gets to know each other very well. But when you have those classes in the labs, the amount of time you spend in those classes and labs, it's just really not enough time to become proficient. So I'm sure you are all very aware of developing study skills and making your schedules. So this becomes just a little bit more challenging in that you have to make time to study, but also come in and practice. And everybody's motivated to do that because they all have the same goal. We're all optometry all the time, so you've got a lot of support in those arenas, but it's a lot to work on. We mentioned this a little bit already, but this is just a breakdown of essentially a little overview of the 4 years. So your first year, it's a fall and spring. We're about to enter our new fall term with our first year students, but the first year, it's very basic science heavy. So it's going to be the foundations of anatomy, physiology, which a lot of you may have taken that in undergrad. We do recommend that you take that so you have that background, but it's not a requirement. So this is something that if you have the opportunity to add in something that's not necessarily an absolutely required, the more anatomy and physiology background you can get, that'll really help. So anatomy and physiology, optics, so this kind of expands on your physics background that you'll have from undergrad. Vision science, how the brain works and perception. So if you've done some neuroscience and behavioral science, that's helpful there. Biochemistry is one of our prerequisites, but again, it's on our national boards, and we need to make sure everybody's on the same playing field when they have their foundations for that content. So you'll have some of that too. All right, and even in our first term, you begin learning your optometric skills, and this is going to be in our theory and methods sequence. So you start that in the fall of your first year, but pretty much every term until you go up to clinic it has a theory and methods course where you are learning the technical skills for an optometric exam. So you also have a lecture component of that, and there's some physiological optics, how the eyes work, but also how it cultivates in an exam setting, and also how you work with electronic health records, things along that line. So that's very focused on the nuts and bolts of actual optometry, and that starts very first semester. And second year it expands. So in second year, it's still very didactic with labs as well, but you have pathology, pharmacology. You do get exposed to our service learning curriculum as well, which gives you an introduction to the Memphis area that we're going to serve. And then in the fall of your second year, you have a clinical communications course where you will also go provide vision screenings to local elementary, preschool, high school students as well. And that's actually a great opportunity. It's the first time you really get to use your clinical skills on someone who's not a classmate, and adjust your communication. So, you've been communicating with a classmate, so you may slip and use optometric terms, but, kids are not going to understand that. So you have to expand your communication abilities and just adapt. So it's a great experience. And that's part of some of our service learning curriculum as well. And evidence-based medicine. So the evidence-based medicine course really teaches you how to validate the research that's out there. So a lot of times there's a lot of industry that develops products. And so they're going to come to your office and talk to you about the newest and latest and greatest product. And they will always have studies to back up why their new product is the best. But you need to be able to critically evaluate the research they provide you to understand if it really is supporting the claims that are there. And so you're able to provide evidence-based care throughout your career, because it will change over time. In the summer of your third year, so after the spring term of second year, summer starts, and you begin your third year clinic experience that summer. You have courses as well, but the shift really is more to clinical care. You only have 2 or 3 classes, and then most of it's clinic. So you really get to do your comprehensive exam starting then. But again, also classes, but it's very much more clinically oriented. Strabismus and amblyopia, neuro eye disease, things along that line. And we do a lot along the way to prepare you for the national boards, because that is spring of your third year. But really the best preparation for national boards begins day one when you're here. Our biggest predictor of success on national boards is how well you do in our courses. And we provide you support all the way through. We have a director of academic support, advisors, tutors that are free of charge. Of course, they're part of our program, but a lot of resources so that you can succeed from day one. And that's really the best strategy for that. And then your fourth year, it's completely clinical. So right now, our third year students are about to receive their externship assignments. So during the summer of their third year, they review summaries from other upperclassmen about externships. So our externship program, you have one internship where you are on campus here at SCO, but you have 2 opportunities to go elsewhere. So each semester you would either do a private practice rotation or an institutional rotation. The institutional is like, there's co-management, there's surgery, more of an advanced co-management type setting, and private practice is really getting to see how to run a practice. That's kind of the focus while you're there. Also, it's all patient care as well, but a little bit of a different focus on each of those. But you get to select where you want to go. But it's a ranking process, because there may be some people that want the same rotations. And usually the class will have a spreadsheet with things people are thinking that they want to do. And if 2 people want the same spot, usually they can work it out by rotating which semester they want to go. So the classes really work together very closely on that. But your fourth year is entirely clinical. So no more classes for that. You do still have to take some national boards. Part 2 and Part 3 will be part of your fourth year rotation. And you'll have time to do that in preparation that we help provide you for that as well. Okay. So again, service is a huge part of the mission at SCO. I do think it's something that's pretty unique about our location and our institution. But we've always had a huge history of our students being very involved in service. And I guess it was probably about 10 years ago when our students decided that we wanted to formalize this into part of the curriculum. So again, people were very active, but they just really wanted an opportunity to have it already scheduled for you, the service opportunities. So that was something we formalized in the curriculum, really at the behest of our students. So our students really drive a lot here, which is great. Some of the optional opportunities for service are SFOSH, that's not unique to SEO, that's Student Volunteers in Optometric Service to Humanity, but is one of our biggest student organization groups. So we usually have the students have team leaders. They're, of course, our faculty supervisors, but the team leaders decide which countries they're going to go to. Usually it's 1 or 2 for the year. And then the clubs will contact Lions clubs that are around the country to raise money, get donations of glasses and medications. And throughout the year, they have service opportunities that they complete to clean up glasses and just get everything prepared. And then the school allows there to be an extra week. There's a 2-week break between your spring and your summer term. And that's to facilitate going on these mission trips. A lot of times it can be Mexico, Belize, Dominican Republic have been some of the common ones they've gone to, Jamaica, Costa Rica, but really it depends on the year and what works out there. But if you don't really want to go abroad, and that's okay, there are plenty of other service opportunities. The remote area medical missions, those are local or at least stateside where we can drive to. And they may be 6 or 8 hours away, but rural areas that we can drive to when we set up free clinics. I usually will supervise one of these trips at least a year, but this is another student club. So our students really do a lot to run things and get things prepared, again, under supervision. But it's a great opportunity early on in your academic career if you really want to get more hands-on in the clinical exposures to provide these services, because you see a lot and you're making a difference where you go. So it's great. All right, let's see. We already mentioned this a little bit, but it's pretty new for us, our optometric lasers and surgical procedures, as far as that going into our law, but we've been providing these services for a long time to make sure that our students are prepared to go to any state. Can't remember how many now, there may be 14 or 16 states right now that have some type of laser law as part of their scope. And that does seem to be the most common area for expansion. So again, check out your laws. But we do make sure that you have the didactic preparation, so the classes, before you even get to the clinic exposure. So in your 3rd year, you do have a 2-course series on lasers and optometric surgical procedures, so pre and post operative. And it's not just lasers, the refractive surgeries, treating keratoconic patients, things along that line, anything that's pre and post-op that you may be exposed to, or in both of those courses. But there is a huge emphasis on getting you prepared to be able to do the laser procedures as well. The new course in the fall of the 3rd year, it's actually, it's been there for about 3 years now, so it's relatively new, but being a single purpose institution, we are able to refine our curriculum a little bit more quickly than a lot of places, just to make sure that if there is something new, we can incorporate it. The National Board of Examiners in Optometry, that's NBEO. They do have a lasers and surgical procedures exam, the LISP exam, and an injections skills exam, ISE. So depending on your scope of where you want to go back and practice, your state may require that you've passed one of those exams. And so we do make sure as part of the curriculum, you've passed practical exams that are very similar to these to make sure you're prepared. But again, it depends on your state. Tennessee, we are required to have passed the injection skills exam. Tennessee does not require the NBO LISP exam as of yet, but they're still writing our rules for how the people will get the laser procedures on their license. So every state may be a little bit different in what they require. But you'll have the preparation no matter where you go. And so after the 4 years, the end result of your hard work is your Doctor of Optometry degree, your OD degree. So once you've successfully completed all of the requirements of the curriculum, then you will be awarded the degree Doctor of Optometry, and then you are eligible to apply for licensure to practice optometry. So we do not license you to practice optometry because that is a state function, so your state board of optometry. And again, they usually have a law exam that you may have to complete for that specific state because of the law. The laws are slightly different in each state. And there may be a different advanced procedures types of exams that you have to take for your specific state. To graduate from with an OD degree from SCO, you will have to pass parts 1 and 2 of the national board exams. Pretty much every state requires you to pass those exams as well. So once you meet the requirements from SCO, you should be very well prepared to get your license in any state. There is the Part 3 exam of national boards, and most states require that as well. That's not part of our graduation requirements, but most states are going to require you to have passed that as well. And we make sure that we prepare you well for that as well. So you will be ready no matter where you go. I mentioned that I did a residency at the Memphis VA hospital. So for optometry, one thing that's unique about us is our residency programs are optional. So after you graduate, once you've met all the licensure requirements for your state and you have your diploma, you can start practicing. You can get a job, you can start practicing. So the residency programs are an optional additional 12 months. And so usually if it's if there's something that you were very interested in and you just wanted to get more exposure. A residency just makes you better faster in your chosen area. And as a fourth year, you've always had that faculty member to back you up. So just that extra decision making experience, it just makes you, again, better doctor faster. A lot of people will equate a year of residency to like 5 years of experience. And really, it kind of depends on what setting you go into. There are some people that intensive residency experience prepares you way more than the 5 years of basic eyeglass type of thing. So it really depends on the settings and what your ultimate goals are. But if you're very interested in contact lenses and you want to get more exposure to especially contact lenses, there's contact lens residencies. Contact lens and ocular disease, usually that's going to be more corneal disease management. And so you still have that mentorship opportunity. So you're more independent, you're a doctor, but you also just have that mentorship to fall back on. And you're usually in a situation where you just have more challenging cases in these focused areas. Vision therapy, sports vision, pediatrics, things along that line. Again, mine was at a VA hospital, so primary care and ocular disease, but a lot of different residencies just kind of set you apart. So again, better, faster, but optional. And SCO does offer more residency positions than any other school. So that means the residency positions are accredited by SCO, the Memphis VA being some of them, but we have residency positions all around the country. And you can learn more about all those diversities on our website. All right, well, that's it for me. And that was a very, very quick overview. What questions might you have? Anybody? All right, New York, Connecticut, Florida, Chicago. Great. Thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, that's excellent. Briefly talk about the regional contract program. When did you recommend applying for residency certification? So our regional contract program, and Tara might be able to tell you a little bit more about that. There are certain states that provide additional funding to go to certain optometry schools that will lessen the amount that you have to pay for your tuition. So usually those are pass-through dollars. So, and I can't remember right offhand, like Arkansas, Georgia, North Carolina was one. I believe Louisiana and Mississippi. These are usually states that don't have optometry schools, so their state will provide additional contract funding. And some of them have service cancelable requirements, so that if you get their funding, I think Kansas was like this, if you get that funding, you have to go back to underserved counties in that state for a certain number of years in order not to have to pay it back. So those are some important things to look at. I'm pretty sure in our admissions information, they list some of the contract states. Tennessee, of course, it is a contract state as well. So that's the regional contract program. Again, it's going to be different by those certain states. But I know that's in our catalog and in our admissions information. As far as residency, okay, sorry, Tara, go ahead.
Oh, no, you were fine. You were explaining it perfectly. I was just gonna add my 2 cents. You're
Go
good.
for it.
So that's a little bit different from the residency that Dr. Elkins was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
The
it's not about
residency
what state you're
program,
from.
yeah, the residency programs are after you have gone through SCO like as a student. Residency certification is what you get before you come here if you are from a state that provides the regional contract seats. So, like Dr. Elkin said, we do have one with Kansas. I think Kansas is the one that has like the highest like return. You have to come back to Kansas and practice like 1.5 years for every year that you received funding for the contract seat. So if you receive 2 years worth of the contract seat funding, you have to go practice in Kansas for 3 years. So that would be 1.5 years per year. And then Tennessee, I don't think has any requirements. Everybody who is a born and raised Tennessee student can get it, but we do have a pretty frequently asked question where students will say, like, can we become a Tennessee residency or contract seat recipient after we have lived here for a year after going to SCO? And the answer to that, unfortunately, is no. We have a finite amount of money that goes to our born and raised Tennesseans. You have to be a Tennessee resident before you get here. And yes, we do have Arkansas, we have Georgia, we have North Carolina. There's quite a few that we have regional contract seats with that is listed on our website if you feel like you'd like to go look it up, or I can probably add a link in the chat box if I need to.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
finding it's in our catalog is published online on page 29. It's under tuition and fees of our of the catalog, and it looks like Arkansas, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and South Carolina have a contract. Tennessee, it depends. West Virginia, Kentucky, Kansas, and North Carolina. Kansas and North Carolina are service forgivable. They do have those requirements. And again, these are things that come through the state. So the state legislature could change these things. It's not really in the control of SCO, to be quite honest. But whatever your state of residency when you start at SCO is your state of residency throughout. But to
Oh,
do, yeah, sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
So completing a residency certification, what the area that I was mentioning is the year after. It's an optional year after SCO to do your residency credentialing. I will note, even if you're from some of the states that I just mentioned for the contract seat, since we do have rolling admissions, the earlier you apply, the more likely you are to get a seat, or for any of our scholarships as well. SCO is very generous. And Tara, correct me on this one. I know you'll know the numbers. I think 80% of our students had some form of scholarship, but the scholarships that are awarded, again, since we accept students on a rolling basis, you're going to have much more opportunities for not only contract seats, since all of those contract seats, just being from one of those states that I mentioned, does not guarantee a contract seat because there's a limited number of them. So those will be dispersed probably on the earlier side. So again, for rolling admissions, your best bet is to apply early.
That was basically what I was going to say to answer your question, Hibatala. So when you are accepted with SCO, we will tell you if you received a contract seat, and if you received a contract seat, then we would recommend applying for your residency certification as quickly as possible, because some states are quicker than others at giving us your verification.
Any other questions, anybody? That was a good one. And I imagine you're probably going to think of more things along the way. It is great that SCO has these webinars. So even if you think of something for curriculum, the next webinar, if it's about clinical experiences, they're able to help with that as well. And certainly you have my email address, and you can look online as well. I'm happy to answer any questions via email also.
Looks like Maya is typing, and we can give her a second.
Great.
Anything that you can think of that we maybe didn't cover, Dr. Elkins?
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. As far as I don't know how committed everybody is to optometry, but there's a lot of diversity in the areas that you can practice for optometry as far as the settings. So as far as your shadowing, it's great if you can have lots of different experience. Even two different private practices are not going to be the same. And so you're going to take the bits of all the exposures that you've had to kind of make your own experience, but the variety is very helpful. Okay, Maya said, just want to clarify, students take part 1 of boards in second year. So part 1 of boards is actually in third year. And this is nationally. This isn't an SCO policy. So the National Board of Examiners, part 1 is a computerized exam, kind of like your OAT, but you will not get your results nearly as fast. But in the spring of your March, it's actually March of your third year that you take the target administration for part 1 of national boards. Part 2 is going to be in December of your fourth year. Part 3 is also during your 4th year, but it's a rolling admissions type situation there. So you pick when you want to take the Part 3 of the exams, because Part 3, you do have to travel in person to Charlotte, North Carolina, to their testing center. And again, this is everybody, not just SCO students. So you may want to see where you're going to have your externships, your rotations, and some of our students just started this cycle of Part 3. So in August, that you can start taking Part 3 in August of your 4th year. So a lot of people may have taken Part 3 before they take Part 2, and that's okay. They're not, it's not contingent. You don't have to pass Part 1 or 2 before you take Part 3. And then Part 3, again, they have throughout each month additional options for you to register for that exam in your 4th year. Any other questions? Yeah, Part 1 and Part 2 are both computerized, so you are able to, it's a little bit more flexible. They are general tests, multiple choice type tests. Part 3, it's in person, and you are doing your skills and live case analysis with standardized patients. So it's just a very different exam. So yeah.
It doesn't look like anybody else is typing, so I think that we're good to go on questions. Obviously, if anybody has any questions that maybe you didn't want to ask in front of others, or if you just wanted to have a chat with Dr. Elkins or myself, Dr. Elkins' email is on the slide, and I can add my personal email in the chat box as well. Give me just a second. Okay, if anybody has any questions or anything that you'd like to ask, there's my personal email. But that brings us to the end of our webinar. I know we've covered a lot of information, and I hope this webinar has been of assistance to you on your optometric journey. We look forward to seeing you in September for our next webinar with our student panel, giving some information about a few of our many student organizations. If you'd like to go ahead and register for that webinar, the link is live and available on our website right now. If you haven't done so already, I invite you to request more information by signing up for our inquiry form. You will receive a personal advisor and a brochure with information relevant to your goals and experiences. Thank you to Dr. Elkins for sharing your time and insight. We hope to see you all next month and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks again, Dr. Elkins.
Thank you. Great to virtually meet you all. Come to SCO and visit us.